feels like they're trying so hard to get those numbers up so fast. And they're saying yes to everything because they want to be able to do it all. And nobody can do it all.
Everybody, we have got Steve Nedvidek here, former head of innovation at Chick-Fil-A, and David and I are just so excited to have you on the show. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Devin. It's a pleasure to be with you. It's a pleasure to be asked.
Absolutely, man. I am so excited. So David, to give a little background, Steve and I both know a mutual friend who also worked at Chick-fil-A. Actually worked for Steve for many years. And I asked her to be on the show, and she's like, "I got somebody better." And so
she would be great if you can get her. She would be great.
I definitely want to touch on. I want to touch on pretty much all of that. So I'm going to try to start at the beginning here. How did you wind up working at Chick-fil-A to begin with?
Yeah, I started working at Chick-fil-A as a team member when I was getting my undergraduate degree. I was at a school called a little school in Chapel Hill that I stayed at for a year until I ran out of scholarship money, and then had to come home and start to work my way through school. So got a job at Chick-fil-A behind the counter, and worked in a Chick-fil-A restaurant for 6.5 years. So was going to school full time, working full time. Would come back during the summers when I was getting my master's and work, and just enjoyed being at Chick-fil-A, enjoyed serving the guests, and cooking the chicken and all those things that making coleslaw, making lemon pies that we used to do back in the day. But mainly it was just because the operators, the franchisees, they were just good people, and they were the best people to work for. And so once I got married and I got my degree and I started working in other jobs, I realized that there was just no place as good as Chick-fil-A, from the standpoint of no place that treated me as well as Chick-fil-A did.
David, I don't want to hog it, man. You look like you got a question, man.
No, well, I mean, listen, we could talk about that for the hour. So I don't let me go too far. We won't get to anything else. I mean, first of all, super fascinating that it was really the time that you spent in the restaurant, really interacting with franchise. I just always, I think that's such an interesting way of understanding, like, no, this is the place that treated me the best. And that's worth more than people think sometimes. In fact, it's worth everything at times. So I think that's really fascinating. I'm just kind of curious, because you were there throughout that growth period, especially out of the Southeast and moving beyond, out of just, shopping malls and all the rest. I mean, was there a moment that you guys had where it was like, all right, we're going big, and for the next 5 years, here's this crazy growth plan? Or what was it, just, we're just going to keep doing what we do, and the more people like it, the more we expand, and we just take it organically?
Yeah, great question. Truett used to have a saying, and it's something that I'm sure anybody of my era could reply back to you with. Anybody that worked at Chick-fil-A during the 80s and early 90s would know this. Truett honestly believed that if you got better, you would get bigger. And he was always afraid, maybe the wrong word, always reticent to go down a path of scaling the organization, of building tons and tons and tons of stores. He was okay with methodical growth. He was okay with slower growth, and he knew if the company focused on getting better, that the customer would want it to get bigger, and that the sales would follow, and that we would be able to get bigger. So we didn't really concern ourselves in the early days with how many stores we could build, or at least most of us didn't. There might have been some, in different parts of the company that were concerned about that.
Somebody with a
But
clipboard somewhere might have.
yeah, so somebody that wanted to see that happen. But for the most part, Truett and Jimmy did a great job of, just kind of helping us to see what was the most important thing. Dan Cathy used to always say, keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing was just getting better and satisfying customer, and and having a positive influence on everybody that came in contact with Chick-fil-A.
I do want to be able to talk a little bit about this graphic novel. Kind of selfishly, because I also kind of dabble in that on the side. I've tried to make my own in the past. Art is a big part of my life. I think I see the Ever Loving Thing up there on the wall behind
you. You do, yeah. It's clobbering time, yeah.
That's awesome. So tell us about the graphic novel and what was your part in it?
Being a creative person, I always tried to pepper some creativity and creative work into my occupation because I have to. That's what drives me. It's like pure oxygen. But at the times when I feel like I didn't have that, I look for other outputs, other things I can do. I was at a point in my career where I felt like I needed a creative outlet, and knew a couple buddies that I'd known for 20 years that were kind of wired like me. And I said, hey, how would you guys feel about just joining forces and writing a book?
That is so cool. That is so cool.
And here they are.
Oh, wow.
Book
oh,
one,
man.
Book two, book three. Just happen to have them at my fingertips.
Awesome. The art on those is just so awesome. I went looking it up after Meg told me about that. I went and started looking it up, and man, as an artist, I'm very, very, very happy with the level of quality you put into that. It's awesome. Seriously, I mean, it's a fantastic answer. So I think we have a lot to take from this. Obviously, we'll get into covering some of the big points post show. But Steve, thank you so much for being on. We look forward to having you back.
Yeah, man. Thanks to both of you. Really appreciate it. Thanks, you for Steve. The opportunity. Have a great rest of your day.
Same to you.